down, we'll never come down. When the sun comes up, we'll be feeling how we do right now. My heart's on fire, coming down to the wire. While the world sleeps, we'll keep burning brighter and brighter.
It's really starting to feel like autumn now. We got 32 millimeters of rain on Tuesday, and I can be completely wrong, but it feels like that broke the back of summer, and the grass has grown like crazy since we got that rain. And the mountain, where is it? Over there behind me, it got some snow on it the other day, so it's actually really, really cold in the mornings. It was 6 degrees when I went into town this morning. That was at 9 o'clock, so it's nice for the humidity to have gone. It's no secret that we have very large silos for a farm that only milks 128 cows. When my dad originally installed them, he would buy wheat and barley in bulk when it was harvested to avoid price fluctuations throughout the year. He then used a disc mill to process it as needed throughout the milking season. At the peak, they probably would have been getting 1 kilo per drop, so 2 kilos a day, and that was quite a finely ground barley or wheat mix, just depended, and a little bit of molasses. And yeah, like I say, they milked really well, but we could not get them at calf, and so 25% was probably the average empty rate that we were getting back in those days. And I can remember a time when it spiked up to 33%. And so when we started talking about buying the herd and going 50-50 share milking, having an empty rate of 25 or 30% as a spring calving share milker was really difficult financially to manage. And so Urian and I basically had decided that if there was any hope of us running this farm and having a future financially with this farm and being able to make it work, we had to address the empty rate. And so one of the things that we changed, and it was quite a drastic change, is that we dropped out all grain. We dropped out all maize, we dropped out all barley, we dropped out all wheat, and we dropped out the in-shed feeding of molasses as well. And the molasses is now only really used as a feed additive to just make it a little bit more palatable, but not in such a way that it's a supplementary replacement. And when we dropped out the barley and the wheat and the maize, I would say our spring production was probably, let me rephrase that. Our peak per cow production dropped a little bit. The solid sent to the factory didn't change at all because we didn't have as many cows on the bucket, so not as many cows with mastitis. And then the empty rate dropped quite drastically. So I think the first year we dropped barley out, we had an empty rate of about 12%. Now, bearing in mind that we dropped it out about the 3rd week of mating, or maybe it was well into mating that we dropped it, and even dropping it halfway through mating, we ended up getting 12%, which when you compare that to 25%, that was a huge improvement. And so we were kind of scratching our heads thinking, how on earth is that possible? This is the opposite to what we thought we knew about it. And yeah, so we've stayed away from grain ever since. So there's one pellet that we tried in the early days of us coming back here, and that was wheat bran, and that worked really, really well. I think our best empty rate that we've ever had was 6%, and the in-shed feed blend that we used that year was wheat bran, soy hulls, and palm kernel. And so I would have quite happily stuck with that mix, but of course we had a contract for wheat bran, and when it came to delivery, the feed company says we don't have any in the country. And then the years that were after that, it became very expensive, and we experimented with oat hull pellets and soy hull pellets, and they worked relatively well. And the 2 pellets that we really wanted to try that are available in Europe but not routinely available in New Zealand are actually citrus pulp pellets and beet pulp pellets. Citrus pulp is a byproduct of the citrus juice industry, and beet pulp is a byproduct of the sugar beet industry. So they take all the sugar out and you're left with a pretty fibrous material which they pelletize, and it can be fed to dairy cows. And those two are quite, I'm of the understanding that they form quite a big base of the in-shed feeding, or concentrates as they call it in Europe. But we haven't been able to routinely get them here in New Zealand. I know you can get beet pulp pellets in New Zealand, and I actually think it might be a good business, because if you brought in bulk beet pulp pellets and bagged it, you could easily undercut what they're charging horse people for beet pulp pellets. Like, it's ridiculous, the price of beet pulp pellets. It's relatively cheap feed in countries like the Netherlands, but here, unless you want to spend a fortune on your horses, you probably wouldn't be feeding it. And I haven't found it available bulk for cows. So at any rate, we did have citrus pulp pellet on our contract for this year, but Feed Company wasn't able to deliver it. So we are going back to wheat bran. And I'd hoped that wheat bran might be here today, because I'd like to get it in straight away. But we have to wait and see.
Okay, you hold my hand. Hey, only when nails are. So, and I'm gonna water blast.
So where's the water blasting?
Here, there it is.
Oh yeah.
So we grab that one. You're gonna sit there.
I can see it.
Swing on an old jukebox, a tailgate party in the parking lot. I'm rowdy rough, big and grown. I get her done all on my own. I'm a good old boy and a country star. No one else can go this far. Come on, babe, and go with me. Riding high, living free. Don't ask once, and don't.
In addition to our high empty rate when we were feeding grains, we had a lot of mastitis, particularly in the late spring and autumn. We also had a lot of pneumonia, particularly in the autumn. These days we have a quite different approach to in-shed feeding. To complement the surplus protein in the grass, we now focus on feeding carbohydrates in the form of highly digestible fibre, instead of starch or sugar. Starch breaks down rapidly in the rumen, forming propionic acid, and can overwhelm the cow's ability to maintain a steady rumen pH and causes excess inflammation. Since we got rid of the grain, we have a lot less mastitis, and it has been years since we have seen pneumonia. Urian and I milk together in the afternoon. At this time of the year, milking takes about an hour, with half an hour washing up, so 1.5 hours total in the afternoon. In the mornings, one of us milks by ourselves, while the other takes charge of breakfast and housework. Morning milking takes about an hour and a half, with half an hour washing up, so 2 hours all up. The jarring noise in the background is our in-shed feeding auger that is finally being replaced next week.
I don't know where this life will take me. I just know I'm here for the ride. Baby, there ain't no sense in waiting. Yeah, we don't know if we got the time. Oh, I'm just a country girl in a real big world. You can catch me on 65, driving to the mountaintop. I don't make no stops. Yeah, this town was once all that I knew. I'll never forget my roots. I'll never forget my roots. Maybe I'll end up in the city, underneath all the flashing lights. Maybe I'll be in the country. Oh, when I go to sleep at night. Oh, I'm just a country girl in a real big world. You can catch me on 65, driving to the mountaintop. I don't make no stops. Yeah, this town was once all that I knew. I'll never forget my roots. 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 There's nothing you can make me do to ever forget my roots. Oh, I'm just a country girl in a real big world. You can catch me on 65, driving to the mountaintop. I don't make no stops. Yeah, this town was once all that I knew. I'll never forget my roots. I'll never forget my roots.
The empty rate for this season is 10.2%. The cows have dropped a bit in the last week and have found a new bottom at 1.79 kilos per cow. We reached a stage in the rotation about a week ago where the paddocks we were grazing had lost their quality due to a lack of moisture. The paddocks we are starting to graze now have had 2 decent drops of rain since the last grazing, and the quality is improving every day. We're interested to see if the cows bounce back as the grass improves. The spore counts at the moment are still extreme, so the cows are getting 2 bales of silage per day and 3 kilos of in-shed feeding. This works out at about 7.4 kilos of supplement per day. We will wait until the spore counts come down before we reduce that.